Broly accompanied Beerus and Whis to his house, which was built only for this occasion. When they arrived, several dishes were already prepared, which they ate with pleasure, waiting for the rest. Broly lay down on the bed and ate something too while with telekinesis he was still cooking all the ingredients he had in the fridge. Until they decided to leave. "Thank you very much for your hospitality, Broly. Can I really take all this with me?" Whis said as he watched the table full of food. "Yes, of course, that's what I promised," replied Broly, who was already in better physical condition. Then I'll take it all." Whis with a touch of his staff made all the food disappear from the table. "Let's go, Whis, we have unfinished business," by Broly, Beerus said as he marched through the door. Broly still recovering, through the jug and watched as Whis and Beerus arrived at the palace of King Vegeta. King Vegeta knelt to receive Beerus and said, "Good afternoon, Mr. Beerus, in honor of your visit we have prepared a banquet." "But, what is the reason for that honor?" Beerus observed King Vegeta strangely and said, "I'll explain why I'm here, but before that, what happened to your hair?" King Vegeta, with his gleaming bald head answered, "It's a long story." Broly stopped observing the meeting. It didn't interest him, since he knew the elapsed end result due to the flashback of Vegeta and the first minutes of the film of the Battle of the Gods. It was time to leave the planet Vegeta as soon as possible. J.A.R.V.I.S cancels Plan B and Plan C, initiate Plan A, said Broly. A semi-robotic voice was transmitted from his belt, "At your orders, sir, initiating the plan of self-destruction of unusable space pod." In several desert points of the planet Vegeta several modified space pod were destroyed to dust in an extremely silent way, without anyone noticing. Broly, anticipating possible futures that could arise when fighting with Beerus, created 3 plans. Plan A was the one that had happened. Beerus left him in a minimally decent state to be able to leave the planet on his own. Plan B, Beerus left him unconscious and they left him. In that case Jarvis, the artificial intelligence he had created, would send a rescue space pod which would pick him up and take him to Kid, his main spaceship which that was operating on a nearby planet. He didn't want to risk his beloved spacecraft being discovered or destroyed by Beerus in an accident. Plan C, Beerus left him in a terrible state, between life and death. In that case, Jarvis, the artificial intelligence he had created, would send a large-sized rescue space pod with a healing device inside him which he would pick up and take him to Kid, his main spaceship which that was operating on a nearby planet, and wait until he recovered completely. Since the resulting situation was A, it was useless to keep those space pods. Broly used the telepathy with all the controlled Saiyan and gave them the last instructions and got into his space pod and left the planet Vegeta forever. Hahaha, my plan so far has been a great success. I feel like Sosuke Aizen in the Saga of the Soul Society, everything has gone as I planned. There is no doubt, the legendary Super Saiyan that I could see in the trailers of the Broly movie for now has all the features that I deduced. Broly before being reborn and during this life, was theorizing what should be the characteristics of Broly based on the trailers. And he came to this conclusion. The legendary Super Saiyan is a mutant Saiyan that maximizes to the extreme all the characteristics of a Saiyan. What characteristics do all the Saiyans possess? 1. They are born with a power superior to many other races. With the exception of cases like Goku, the majority of Saiyans are born with high combat powers. An average human has a power of 1, however, Saiyans normally born around 100 of combat power. In strange cases great Saiyans were born like Vegeta with 1.000 of combat power, considered the greatest prodigy among the Saiyans. But me being the legendary Super Saiyan, this feature is maximized. If I hadn't trained before birth I would have a power of 10.000. 2. They learn to fight very quickly. Goku showed this characteristic as a child on more than one occasion. He was able to learn the Kamehameha, a very advanced technique just observing it once. In Korin's tower she learned to follow Korin's movements in only 3 days, something that cost to mutant Roshi 3 years. Let's say that if I went to the planet Earth now and trained with Korin as Goku did, it would probably only take me 3 seconds to learn Korin's teachings. In the film trailer Vegeta clearly said, he learned while fighting. He became increasingly skillful fighting, although he had never left that yellow planet and had only fought with beasts, without knowledge of martial arts. For this reason, I have been able to learn such incredible skills so quickly in such a short time and with such efficiency. 3. They have the Zanaki or Saiyan power. This power allows a Saiyan to recover from harm in relatively short periods of time, during which, the Saiyan will imprint on the injuries and/or experiences and instantly learning from it. As it does, their minds and body adapt to the said struggles, allowing their instinctual methods and natural resistance to noticeably improve, which also increases their physical might as they recover, thereby lessening the chances of the problem happening again. The more severe the damage they recover from, the more significant the improvements will be, effectively making prolonged battles more favorable to them. Goku's healing from his first battle against Vegeta and multiple injuries during his gravity training in X100 Earth's gravity increased his power level from over 8.000 to 90.000. Then after recovering from battling Captain Jinyu, Goku's power level reached 3.000.000, enough to pressure Frieza's initial might in fourth form. Broly couldn't learn to properly control the ki on that planet, nor could have such good training, teachers, or adversaries, but there is something he probably had during his childhood and youth, as his scars show, the Zenkai, that would explain that great base power. It is certain that he had a lot of Zenkais during the trailer, which caused him to have such a huge base power that he cornered Goku and Vegeta again and again. Zenkais that he kept having again and again during the battle. That means that Broly, I must have a very powerful and ultra-active Zenkai, which not only gives a huge increase in power extremely fast, it also allows one to recover very quickly. 4. They look for powerful rivals. Encompassing the two previous points, the Saiyans become more powerful as they fight. They learn from their adversaries and learn from the damage they receive, so they instinctively seek to fight against rivals stronger than them to increase their power more quickly, and they enjoy it, so they look for it even more. It's like a drug for them. That's why Goku always commits follies in order to continue fighting with powerful rivals, like forgiving his life or curing them. That's why I've planned to fight against Beerus, even though my most rational part told me not do it. However, my instinct was practically forcing me to do it. I suppose being the legendary Super Saiyan has unfortunately also increased this characteristic. Although surely I have also been influenced by my other rational part that take risks for a greater good. Nobody could teach me better and could cause me so many Zenkais as the god of destruction. My fighting skills have been sharpened to an incredible degree, and my power has gone from 2.358.347 to 11.178.300 in just 3 minutes, ha 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 ha. The risk has been worth it, ha ha ha. 5. The S cells. All living beings are composed of cells. When they eat, those nutrients are assimilated, and they are transported to all the cells of the body, becoming energy. This energy is released in each physical activity of your body, allowing you to perform all your activities: walk, run, breathe, fight. Kamehamehas. The S cells are special cells capable of creating more energy than normal cells. They must be able to convert practically all food into energy. All the Saiyan to a greater or lesser extent have S cells in their body, but for these cells to do mitosis, increase in quantity, they need several psychological and emotional factors, like tranquility and an emotional bond with other people. Goku established great friendship ties, so he produced a lot of S cells. And the only way to release the energy from those cells is through extreme anger, overflowing your body and awakening the Super Saiyan. The S cells contain up to 100 times more energy than the base energy of the Saiyan, being 50 in the Super Saiyan state and another 50 in the Super Saiyan 2 state, being the Super Saiyan 3 in imperfect break limits transformation. My theory is that the S-cell mutants of the legendary Super Saiyan don't have an energy limit, or that when reaching a certain point doesn't have a limit. With my fight against Beerus, I hope to become Super Saiyan, or its equivalent in Broly case, but it seems that it has not been possible. I don't know if it's because I have not been able to generate enough S-cells, maybe because of my age or because I've barely had any connection with anyone, but the same can apply to that Broly who barely had contact with anyone, and if he could. Which brings me my second theory. The Jugon allows me an extraordinary control of my mind. It is probably due to that, for now it is impossible or very difficult for to feel anger, the channeler of the Super Saiyan, but this have an easy solution. I also have another quite solid theory, but I cannot confirm it yet. In fact, if this were a determining reason, I would be very sad. It's a shame. If I had reached the Super Saiyan stage, I could have beaten Frieza right now. Although I prefer not to do it yet. It would change history too much. Not only the present and the future, also the past. Saving Bardock could be dangerous. I don't know if in this universe that OVA could be canonical or not. Other features is that they adapt to power very well and the monkey tail, but for now this is something that I will think later. I can already see my spaceship kid. Broly landed on the hidden side of the almost desert planet, where it was more likely that no one would find the spaceship. Broly made himself comfortable in his house and while watching the planet Vegeta in the distance said, Sorry guys, but I don't plan to save any of you directly. Officially I should be a child exiled by the people of my own planet, so I have little attachment to you. I don't want to waste my time babysitting Saiyan boys and girls on my spaceship when I'm only 3 years old. I also don't intend to turn this into a rehabilitation center for proud psychopaths who only think about killing and conquering. And above all, I don't want to become the leader of a nation of brainless monkeys. This is my fucking adventure and I have many things to do and live. I have already taken the trouble to make my lackeys damage the transmitters of several spaceships that will be used for young Saiyans, so they will not receive the message of Frisia to return to the planet Vegeta to die. Consider this my last act of gratitude towards the planet Vegeta. I don't know how many will be saved, but surely this will change the Saga Z. Broly and his spaceship flew at full speed, and went to some very specific coordinates. Planet Earth has a lot of things to offer me, is the jewel in the crown of all the worlds that exist in this universe, so I have to go as soon as possible, but first, I have to make another stop. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.